topic is optimization of transportation cost and operational efficiencies in chemical logistics. Let me start with Dinesh Patel ji, and my question to him would be if he can share his present experiences with respect to optimization of transportation costs and increasing operational efficiencies in the company, followed by Pratyush, Kadam ji and Tharun ji.
Yeah, good evening all, and thank you Mr. Pravin to give this opportunity to speak in front of all. Currently I am looking gas supply chain, but my previous profile and originally I am from the safety background, and I am trying to implement everything what I had learned during the my exposure on the safety. So let us bring this cost optimization from the safety angle. So when we introduced this distribution safety concept in 2015, initial around 7-8 years back, that time people used to think that our first implementation is implementation of night driving in the operations. So that time all the vendors, transporters are thinking that hazcam goods or heavy goods are moved only in night time. If we stop the vehicle in night, then we might lose our one productive day. That time our operation head, Ravi sir, said, let us go ahead and we will see what is the actual impact. So we start implementing night driving. We used to call the vendors, their people, to restrict the vehicle in the night. Slowly after 3-4 months, we do the same activity for continuous driving to manage the fatigue and later on the stoppage alert. So after 6 months, when we go back to our operation part, what we observed, now drivers are getting trained to follow our discipline, and initially there is an increase of about 30% of kilometer coverage of daily vehicle running. Before implementing all these norms, there's nobody to monitor the driver activity. Once this activity started, they start getting frequent emails, phones, everything, emails to the organization, phones to the driver. We are getting more number of kilometers. Time passes, again after 6 months, when our vendors come to our office and start telling, sir, with the implementation of all these things, our tire life is also increased about 20-30% because now drivers are managing their vehicle in a more disciplined way. This is the way we are getting the optimization in the transportation. So we never go to the market or the people to go for a cost reduction and all these things. Only the safety factors, it is implementing in a better way, in a continuous, rigorous way, will bring lot of better benefit to our company. Second example, when we optimize the lane management, when I start looking the gas movement, so I start working towards the utilization of higher capacity vehicle in the longest lane. Initially, again, vendors start creating that you are diverting only few vendors and all these things. So we clearly communicated to them that we only want to have a higher capacity vehicle on a particular lane, and shipments are working accordingly. Slowly time passes, and with the 6 month, even this whole concept is well understood by the community, and they start investing on the higher capacity vehicle, and they start reducing their smaller capacity vehicle to the local market, port movement and all these things, and in a way, we are getting better and newer version of the vehicle, and you will not believe, within 1 year, I am able to reduce around 30% of fleet from our system. Currently, in one of our key product, I am able to manage more than 90% vehicle of BS6 grade. So, my belief, if you follow the safety norms, if you follow the discipline, what the rule book says, if you bring the discipline factor in the supply chain, you will get lot of benefit. And there is a hidden benefit goes around because nobody has touched this subject before days. Previously, matlab, we have done lot of work on track and trace. Track and trace will really help to understand the vehicle location, as well as we develop lot of programs so that we can able to monitor the vehicle as per my requirement. One last example on this cost optimization, that in liquids, we slowly used to build a fleet which is now, before coming to that point, we are handling around 60 odd grades of product in our own supply chain. So we start monitoring the vehicle and doing the improvement on the MOC part, so that most of the vehicles should comply with the quality of the product. You know that SS vehicle, MS vehicle, caustic needs another grades of vehicle, acid needs another grades of vehicle. So when we start doing work on MOC part, and we can able to utilize 80% of our own fleet in all our product, and in a way we bring lot of optimization on the transportation cost.
Thank you, Dinesh. Now I move to
Thank you.
Pratyush Kadam.
Yeah, so good afternoon all. Thanks for this opportunity. Thanks, Dinesh, for your kind. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. So thanks all. I'm Pratyush Kadam. I'm heading procurement and logistics for Evonik in India. So in Evonik, we handle a lot of chemicals. We are a specialty chemical company. So as Dinesh explained, multiple cost optimization initiatives which he was part of. So specifically, it starts with vehicle selection, load optimization, then inventory management, and then finding intermodal transportation, inventory management. But these are like more common aspect of it. Any professional will start thinking of cost optimization and efficiency improvement by those criterias. But there is a next angle to it, which is called technology, then sustainability, and then regulatory compliance and risk. Those are associated with it. So we have to drive all our initiatives in considering all those aspects as the boundary conditions, and we have to ensure that we maintain our initiatives or our operations within those boundary limits. So achieving all these targets to ensure that we have optimal supply chain design at our end, we have to ensure that we train people in the supply chain, right from the supplier end to the customer end, along with our own employees. Then we have to have these multiple collaborations at various ends to ensure that everyone understands what are the responsibilities laid and how this can be taken forward. While saying that, it is very important to select our own suppliers. So we deal with multiple packages or multiple items. When we see that we have an opportunity, we always get an opportunity to establish our supply chain and customize it to the solutions. So it is very important to ensure that we select a supplier who can fulfill those requirements. So many a times we try to make sure that many a times we try to find out one solution for all our problems. But ideally we have to devise the solution as per the problem, and we have to ensure that we have the supplier selection done as per their capability. So in Evonik, we always say that we are a specialty chemical company. So we have experience or expertise making specialty chemical which add value to each product. While saying that, we are not an expert clearly on supply chain or transportation. So when this situation arises, we always try to go to the expert and ask or seek for their help to ensure that we have those expertise inbuilt in our system externally. While saying that, we only don't treat supplier as a supplier, but we treat them as a partner. When we treat them as a partner, they become one of us, and we together try to optimize the solutions for the industry and our operations. Yeah, thanks.
Tharunji, your views.
So thank you, Pravin. So, first of all, I think before I answer the question, I was reading somewhere on the internet last week. When you're thirsty and you're entering a store, if you like Coke and Coke is not there, you'll pick up Pepsi. So, of course, we can look at optimizing the transport cost and logistics cost and everything. But end of the day, if the product is not available at the right place at the right time, then I would say it doesn't make sense to even reduce the cost. That's point number one. And point number two, okay, I represent Aquapharm Chemicals. In terms of, we have gone a long journey. Last session I really enjoyed. Harish ji, a lot of respect for you. So in terms of Aquapharm Chemicals, initially we started with Nicer Globe to start with, then we moved to RC, then we moved to EPR. So I would say in terms of optimizing cost, it is also good to train the entire environment. We got trained, the entire company got trained into IMDG course, all the logistics team. So I would say training is the key. Partner training, which Nicer Globe is doing, that's also extremely important. And number three would be also to look at environmental safety. I think the last session they talked about leakages. So that is also extremely important. Because if these three things, we do it properly, I think cost optimization is extremely easy to come by.
Thank you. Now I come to APR, and this question is about collaboration, partnership, shared transportation resources, and how it can help chemical and petrochemical companies. Right from the morning, we have been listening about, and everybody is saying the same thing. So, any different perspective that you bring? And after that, Kartik.
I think, firstly, thank you for having me here, Pravin, and Yogesh and the entire team of the organizers. One thing is that really discomforts me at time is the fact that you're doing the last session. And when you're doing the last session, people all hungry, their glucose levels are up, they're sleepy, and half the house or more than half the house is empty. But fortunately here I see at least 3/4 of the house, so that's a commendable job by all of you all. And actually deserves a huge round of applause for them. Yeah. Having said that, Pravin, when it comes to, when we all talk about collaboration, right? I think from jet black hair that I had, now I have white hair. Very little black and pepper left. It's collaboration that we've been talking about for the last 25 years that I've heard. Very rarely happens. And I can see Sunil there is totally white hair. मतलब उन्होंने भी collaboration 25 साल, 26 साल, 30 साल से सुन के थक गए हम लोग. Right? So it's a nice buzzword and it's been there for long. If I had a kid that was 1 year old, he would now turn 26, right? So I think we should stop overrating this word and start meaningfully looking towards it and acting towards it. Collaboration in the space of, from the manufacturing side, it already started long ago. We never learned a lesson because of our own fears and our inhibitions. But I strongly believe that if there is a platform where supply chain service providers and whether they're transporters, warehousing service providers, or packaging people, whatever they may be, all kinds of suppliers, if they can wake up to the fact that individually there's a high chance that they might disappear, right? If they realize this, and the sooner they realize, the better, and they start collaborating. And see, someone has to take that bold step, right? If I approach Sunil and I say, Sunil, I would like to collaborate, are you interested? If he says no, it's okay, right? But if he says yes, we can think about it, then we, write down those pointers that can safeguard us, right? It is either or. So as far as collaboration is concerned, yes, there are a lot of benefits of collaboration. And it can massively help the chemical industry. Let me tell you very honestly, not everything is hunky-dory in the chemical industry, especially for the last 3 years, right? Even right now, whether it is the war or the crisis in the rest of Europe, it's not hunky-dory. And that actually straight away hits Sunil's bottom line, my bottom line, and each of these partners' bottom lines. Because very candidly, Tharun or anybody, even Kartik, can come up and say that, hey, look, this is the real trouble. I have no choice. I have to, and you've been my partner for long, or you've been a genuine partner, but I have no choice. Can you do something about it? Yeah, and we have no choice. We actually have to cut corners, reduce our prices, etc. And we have to sustain, mind you, right? So this is possible. It will yield results, especially because now the industry is far more price sensitive than it used to be. We can collaborate in terms of asset utilization. You don't need to have X number of assets. You can have less than X number of assets, provided all customers are aligned towards it. So I would say a big yes for collaboration, not only on the service side, but also for the benefits that it can give the industry, provided the industry can, sort of mentor one or two or three such associations. Yeah, I believe it will work.
Thank you, sir. Kartik ji, your thoughts?
Yeah, hello. Am I heard? So I'm sure right through the day, a lot of people must have already talked about the subject of collaboration. Very important. Let me give you something which was my experience. Humans learn from mistakes. I did some mistake also, 15, 20 years back. Okay. Now, whether you call it mistake, whether you call it, that was the standard at that time. So there was this day, early morning, 6 o'clock, waking up to a phone call, which was an emergency, of an tanker which hit the, or rather the boom barrier, hit the tanker's pressure gauge, and the gas started oozing out. So this was Bombay-Pune highway, and you can understand the consequences. 7:30, I was there at the site, along with the SP, standing shoulder to shoulder, trying to manage the situation. While we were lucky enough to get a lot of people to help us, including the OMCs, the transporters themselves, and the local community. And while we were able to avert a huge crisis, this was a learning in terms of having a large setup of collaboration put together, involving all the stakeholders. One of the living examples is before you in, nicer globe. So this was something which was, getting ideated, talked about, saying that what can we do for handling things like this? Now, why am I talking about all of this when I am talking about cost optimization? Just one accident when you handle chemicals is good enough to destroy your entire value. Even as we talk today, there is a company which was hit hard by an accident related to a chemical vehicle somewhere in Gujarat. And today, if they have to restart their operations, I am certain they will have huge difficulties securing the material from the principals. These are not days where you sit just back and you could do whatever in terms of taking the way you want to do on safety, sustainability measures. You'll have to be really diligent in terms of handling and be responsible in handling the chemicals that are there. So this is the very important side to it, and this is one of the places where the entire community and all of us need to get together, collaborate in terms of making things happen properly for us. We are already doing it. I am already seeing a good number of companies, including Netradyne here and other partners who are trying to make things better for all of us together. Having said that, just to come to some bare basics, from safety and sustainability to bare basics, collaboration has been happening for a long time, and this I am talking about, basic bread stories. So again, going back to my experience, whenever we bought a few raw materials as people who used to buy bulk material across the coastline in India, almost every buyer speaks to each other, starts talking, saying that how much do you want? I want a 5,000. How much do you want? I want 15. Another fellow says 20. Okay, can we match things together, put this together in one ship and get it? Okay, these are the thoughts that keep going around in terms of people collaborating and buying. Now, when you collaborate and buy, it's not just about the material cost. There is a huge shipping logistics which is involved. And this kind of a collaborative buying definitely helps in terms of optimizing costs for all the buyers, as well as the service providers. For the service providers, it's like going to a single group of individuals rather than trying to vend out to a X company in Kandla, Y company in Coimbatore, Z company in some other place. It also makes sense for them, and that's how collaborative association primarily in bulk parcels very successfully happens. Traders master this art, aggregators master this art, and this is one of the, should I say, primary points of profitability for most of these aggregators, where they put together collaborative buying and they create a business model out of the collaborative buying and cost savings on collaboration. So I've talked about safety, I've talked about business models which evolve out of collaborative buying. Obviously, in terms of local transportation, there is a lot that can be done. Typically, the way chemical industries in India are organized, they are organized in typical clusters. So you have movement typically happening one cluster to the other, and that's how large movements happen. And there are obviously return freights which have to happen from cluster B to cluster A as well. And here again, there are huge amount of possibilities. There are 3PL providers who partner and who make a business model out of it. And I am sure that these kind of associations, these kind of possibilities for collaboration as buyers and logistics operators, each one of us need to be open to in terms of looking at opportunities for optimization.
Thank you, Kartik ji. Now I move to the other part, which is balancing technology and regulation to achieve the desired result. So here I would ask Prakash, Wagh ji, followed by Rakesh, Singh ji, Tharun and Dinesh.
Regarding regulatory part, there are series of regulations which are right now available. For as earlier our speaker said, IMDG is compulsory to be followed. For air transportation, ITA needs to be followed. And in India, we have Center Motor Vehicle Act, which is a very important regulation which we really need to follow. Some companies are following, but some companies are really not taking care of this Center Motor Vehicle.
I think the last session they talked about leakages. So that is also extremely important. Because if these three things, we do it properly, I think cost optimization is extremely easy to come by.
Thank you. Now I come to APR, and this question is about collaboration, partnership, shared transportation resources, and how it can help chemical and petrochemical companies. Right from the morning, we have been listening about, and everybody is saying the same thing. So any different perspective that you bring? And after that, Kartik.
I think, firstly, thank you for having me here, Pravin, and Yogesh and the entire team of the organizers. One thing is that really discomforts me at time is the fact that you're doing the last session. And when you're doing the last session, people all hungry, their glucose levels are up, they're sleepy, and half the house or more than half the house is empty. But fortunately here I see at least 3/4 of the house, so that's a commendable job by all of you all. And actually deserves a huge round of applause for them. Yeah. Having said that, Pravin, when it comes to, when we all talk about collaboration, right? I think from jet black hair that I had, now I have white hair. Very little black and pepper left. It's collaboration that we've been talking about for the last 25 years that I've heard. very rarely happens. And I can see Sunil there is totally white hair. मतलब उन्होंने भी collaboration 25 साल, 26 साल, 30 साल से सुन के थक गए हम लोग, right? So it's a nice buzzword and it's been there for long. If I had a kid that was 1 year old, he would now turn 26, right? So I think we should stop overrating this word and start meaningfully looking towards it and acting towards it. Collaboration in the space of, from the manufacturing side, it already started long ago. We never learned a lesson because of our own fears and our inhibitions. But I strongly believe that if there is a platform where supply chain service providers and whether they're transporters, warehousing service providers, or packaging people, whatever they may be, all kinds of suppliers, if they can wake up to the fact that individually there's a high chance that they might disappear, right? If they realize this, and the sooner they realize, the better, and they start collaborating. And see, someone has to take that bold step, right? You know, if I approach Sunil and I say, Sunil, I would like to collaborate, are you interested? If he says no, it's okay, right? But if he says yes, we can think about it, then we, write down those pointers that can safeguard us, right? It is either or. So as far as collaboration is concerned, yes, there are a lot of benefits of collaboration, and it can massively help the chemical industry. Let me tell you very honestly, not everything is hunky-dory in the chemical industry, especially for the last 3 years, right? Even right now, whether it is the war or the crisis in the rest of Europe, it's not hunky-dory. And that actually straight away hits Sunil's bottom line, my bottom line, and each of these partners' bottom lines. Because very candidly, Tharun or anybody, even Kartik, can come up and say that, hey, look, this is the real trouble. I have no choice. I have to, and you've been my partner for long, or you've been a genuine partner, but I have no choice. Can you do something about it? Yeah, and we have no choice. We actually have to cut corners, reduce our prices, etc. And we have to sustain, mind you, right? So this is possible. It will yield results, especially because now the industry is far more price sensitive than it used to be. We can collaborate in terms of asset utilization. You don't need to have X number of assets. You can have less than X number of assets, provided all customers are aligned towards it. So I would say a big yes for collaboration, not only on the service side, but also for the benefits that it can give the industry, provided the industry can, sort of mentor 1 or 2 or 3 such associations. Yeah, I believe it will work.
Thank you, sir. Kartik ji, your thoughts?
Yeah, hello, am I heard? So I'm sure right through the day, a lot of people must have already talked about the subject of collaboration. Very important. Let me give you something which was my experience. Humans learn from mistakes. I did some mistake also, 15, 20 years back. Okay. Now whether you call it mistake, whether you call it, that was the standard at that time. So there was this day, early morning 6 o'clock, waking up to a phone call, which was an emergency, of an tanker which hit the, or rather the boom barrier, hit the tanker's pressure gauge, and the gas started oozing out. So this was Bombay-Pune highway, and you can understand the consequences. 7:30, I was there at the site, along with the SP, standing shoulder to shoulder, trying to manage the situation. While we were lucky enough to get a lot of people to help us, including the OMCs, the transporters themselves, and the local community. And while we were able to avert a huge crisis, this was a learning in terms of having a large setup of collaboration put together, involving all the stakeholders. One of the living examples is before you in, Nicer Globe. So this was something which was, getting ideated, talked about, saying that what can we do for handling things like this. Now, why am I talking about all of this when I am talking about cost optimization? Just one accident when you handle chemicals is good enough to destroy your entire value. Even as we talk today, there is a company which was hit hard by an accident related to a chemical vehicle somewhere in Gujarat. And today, if they have to restart their operations, I am certain they will have huge difficulties securing the material from the principals. These are not days where you sit just back and you could do whatever in terms of taking the way you want to do on safety, sustainability measures. You'll have to be really diligent in terms of handling and be responsible in handling the chemicals that are there. So this is the very important side to it, and this is one of the places where the entire community and all of us need to get together, collaborate in terms of making things happen properly for us. We are already doing it. I am already seeing a good number of companies, including Netradyne here and other partners who are trying to make things better for all of us together. Having said that, just to come to some bare basics, from safety and sustainability to bare basics, collaboration has been happening for a long time, and this I am talking about, basic bread stories. So again, going back to my experience, whenever we bought a few raw materials as people who used to buy bulk material across the coastline in India, almost every buyer speaks to each other. Starts talking, saying that how much do you want? I want a 5,000. How much do you want? I want 15. Another fellow says 20. Okay, can we match things together, put this together in one ship and get it? Okay, these are the thoughts that keep going around in terms of people collaborating and buying. Now, when you collaborate and buy, it's not just about the material cost. There is a huge shipping logistics which is involved. And this kind of a collaborative buying definitely helps in terms of optimizing costs for all the buyers, as well as the service providers. For the service providers, it's like going to a single group of individuals rather than trying to vend out to a X company in Kandla, Y company in Coimbatore, Z company in some other place. It also makes sense for them, and that's how collaborative association, primarily in bulk parcels, very successfully happens. Traders master this art, aggregators master this art, and this is one of the, should I say, primary points of profitability for most of these aggregators, where they put together collaborative buying and they create a business model out of the collaborative buying and cost savings on collaboration. So I've talked about safety, I've talked about business models which evolve out of collaborative buying. Obviously, in terms of local transportation, there is a lot that can be done. Typically, the way chemical industries in India are organized, they are organized in typical clusters. So you have movement typically happening one cluster to the other, and that's how large movements happen. And there are obviously return freights which have to happen from cluster B to cluster A as well. And here again, there are huge amount of possibilities. There are 3PL providers who partner and who make a business model out of it. And I am sure that these kind of associations, these kind of possibilities for collaboration as buyers and logistics operators, each one of us need to be open to in terms of looking at opportunities for optimization.
Thank you, Kartik ji. Now I move to the other part, which is balancing technology and regulation to achieve the desired result. So here I would ask Prakash, Wagh ji, followed by Rakesh, Singh ji, Tharun and Dinesh.
Regarding regulatory part, there are series of regulations which are right now available. As earlier our speaker said, the IMDG is compulsory to be followed. For air transportation, ITA needs to be followed. And in India, we have Center Motor Vehicle Act, which is a very important regulation which we really need to follow. Some companies are following, but some companies are really not taking care of this Center Motor Vehicle Act. But to be very honest to you, regarding this, Government of India has also recently published one standard, which is BIS standard. And this BIS standard is mainly made for this transportation of dangerous goods by road. So maybe you can go to the any BIS site and download this standard. They have beautifully framed this standard, what type of really requirement for transportation of goods through the road in India, what type of labels we need to fix, what are the real requirement, and there they have clearly shown that we need to have a tracking tool in place whenever we are transporting any dangerous goods. So these are the regulatory framework which are already there in our even country, and we as a logistic partner, we need to follow all these regulatory norms, because these regulations are made for our benefit. Because if we follow the regulatory part very well, then the incident will definitely get reduced over a period of time.
Then to Sir Rakesh ji.
I'm the odd man out, an academician amidst a lot of practitioners here. I'll just broad base the response in a different way. I'll not go to the regulations because regulations are common to every player in any business. They become the context within which your supply chain operates or your transportation operates. One of the fundamental element of challenge in terms of use of technology is that we do not use technology to solve business problems, but we use technologies largely to blame people or blame technology for the business problems. And I think this is something that is very omnipresent throughout the world, and it's also across industry. It's industry agnostic problem. If you see the current state of technology, one of the fundamental problems is that organizations use multiple sources of solutions, technological solutions, and mess up with the whole seamless end-to-end process of supply chain integration. And I think I heard a lot of those things here in terms of integration in a partial way. Any organization that really needs to invest into technology has to see it from a value chain perspective, complete value chain perspective today. It cannot be planning, logistics, regulatory compliances, or for sustainability also people have come out with solutions. It has to be something which really brings a complete visibility of organizations, supply chain processes, design and practice in such a way that you see the same schedules and part. And that is important, irrespective of what the regulations are in the country. I did some work for agrochemicals some years back through the Crop Life Asia. And we found that, in most organizations, if I use little analytics, I know analytics is talked about but not used even in discussions. We found that the standard deviation of the demand was 300, whereas the demand itself was 300. Just think about the kind of inventory an agrochemicals has in its supply chain. And why does that happen? That happened primarily because we don't use technologies the way you used to do. You use a complete set of non-collaboration in the supply chain processes. All your distribution channels are lying in a blind spot. All your distribution channels are lying in your blind spot. You're serving the farming community, but you don't really know what the problems are. So you go through a traditional order processes. You say you're forecasting, you're planning, but you're using order from the supply chain. And then it goes from the factory to distributor to dealer to sub-dealers and Santis in the rural India. You see huge amount. When the demand is 300, the average inventory is around 1,000 liters for agrochemicals. And I think this is dangerous. You are serving one of the most sensitive organization, the customer segment in the world, and has a huge inventory holding cost, which makes cost of selling much costlier. I think this is the fundamental problem. And this is, let me go to the earlier question that you put, Prashant. Do we collaborate? Where do we collaborate? I think all of us are talking about collaborating with our extended partners. Does your marketing, sales, supply chain collaborate? I have one, we do in Institute of Supply Chain, we did the ranking of the supply chain. We found 3 fundamental problems in collaboration. And these are prominent guys in the supply chain organization, in the organization itself. The sales looks at pipeline. We supply chain guys look at service, customer service, and the finance looks at currency. How do you reconcile the first level of collaboration between the internal department? And I think this is a matter of very, very strong concept. So what happens exactly is that can we use technology in such a way to collaborate between these things? And this can only happen. In fact, if you see the whole pandemic research, you find that companies that did better had a very strong collaborative tools and processes in place. All companies that did better, you see they have had a great extended S&OP process or integrated business program. A good portfolio review, a good demand planning review, leading to a supply chain review, leading to a financial reconciliation where your cost optimization itself happen, then the managerial consolidation, and it is driven by the MD or the CEO of the organization. I think we don't create a governance system for collaboration internally, leave a part externally. If you have it internal, then the extended partner comes into picture. In fact, in some organizations, how do you collaborate in a dark zones of your distributions when you have this multiple layers of distribution, blinding flow of goods and services? Or you have a supplier from tier 1, you don't know what happens. Any event, Israel, Hamas, or even Taiwan, China war, how are you going to know where do you secure your last material from? Do you know this? And most companies don't realize that even 2% of your supplies which comes from it are not visible. So you have to invest into geography, more visibility, understanding geography, understanding events, and this visibility has to increase much faster. Collaboration does not happen just because of simple collaboration. But one beautiful thing that COVID has reminded us, and we should really go ahead with, because we came into the war room, all of us looked at high demand areas, we served the high demand area with securing transport, storage, and that. That was a brilliant process of doing IBP. But once we are out of it, we are back into a normal place. And this is where the transition is. Technology should assist this, and organizational enabler for collaboration should assist technology.
Thank you, sir. Beautifully put. Tarunji, your views, and then Dineshji. Short answers will be welcome so that...
Yeah, I think Rakesh ji has covered most of it.
So any additional...
No, I will just add a couple of pointers, just to keep it very short. Number 1, transparency within the company. That's paramount. You know, if there is no transparency within the company, like Rakesh ji mentioned, you know, we can have a beautiful system. But if there is no transparency between the MD to the, let's say, the executive or the shop floor employee, it is impossible for the system to coexist. Let me put it that way. Number 2, stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management, both. If you're not able to engage the stakeholder, if you're not able to understand his pain points, like I think you mentioned sales on the other side, I think you need to understand both engagement and management. So if those 2 areas are covered, then I think we are in a better place for technology. Number 3, you touched upon an interesting part that, you know, last 3 years has been very, very interesting. You know, wish I had a crystal ball next to me saying that, okay, what is going to come next? That's impossible. But, you know, if technology can be put to a better use in terms of trying to understand what demand is driving in terms of the levers going up, in terms of levers going down, that can help us, you know, optimize cost as well. And it can also improve customer satisfaction. So I will end.
Dineshji, your views, pointers to it.
Yeah, actually, I can put this question in another way, that how we're going to manage the non-compliance. Okay, as a supply chain expert, either you have to manage the company's demand or planning, or you have to manage the transporter or the vendors. So in Reliance, we are not able to afford any non-compliance because our company stake is very high and the reputation of the company is in a different level. So we make our own processes. Like in liquid pool of tankers, we develop a Suraksha program. Suraksha program, every tanker has to follow the Suraksha program, and Suraksha program is nothing but a checklist of compliance statement of RTO, OISD rules, petroleum rules, and all these things. We have a checklist of around 125 points, which is broadly a compliance of each and every rules. Second, every tankers has to follow the same checklist, say at different locations, and there is our spot check team, what we call an emergency response team. We may develop another checklist for them to again ensure during the surprise audit of at the road that they will cross the tanker as per the compliance. So there's no room for the people who's operating with us can manage the compliance. Same is happening in the gas tankers in Rule 18, 19, PESO rules. We collaborate with the people for Suraksha centers, and Rule 18, 19, we develop people in the market that they have to work as per our norm, as per our SOP, and we put inspectors also, like approved TUVs and all these people who keep on visiting and monitoring the process of the periodic checking. And in this way, we have our own process to be compliant 100% every point of time. Still, if we get any opportunity that there is any gap in the tanker, because tankers are moving day in, day out, there is a mechanical integrity issues. So we are not started vendor audit, vendor capability building sort of things. We are visiting to our associates facility. We keep on auditing. We try to understand how they are handling this break maintenance part, breakthrough part, how they are coming back to the system. So we have our own system. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh. Now I come to the sustainability part of it, and where keeping sustainability into focus, how can companies optimize their transportation cost and increase their operational efficiencies? To start with Rakesh, Parasji, and then Kartik.
I think supply chain is the largest contributor to carbon emission. And straight away going to the scope 3, both on the procurement side as well as on the distribution or the logistics and transportation side, it's very important that we make relevant use of new sources of energy on the one hand, as well as new vehicles that really creates more safe movement of distance. And I think we can hear more from others who have been doing this. It is very important that we marry sustainability exercises to the new design of supply chains. What does it mean? It means as we move into the world of ESG reporting, as that becomes very important, as someone rightly said, that if you don't comply to the global standards, you would be out of business, you may not get business. The first basic imperative is to see that can we create a supply chain design which reduces network design cost as well as the cost emerging out of movement of trucks and storage of trucks. We have seen umpteen times that there is huge amount of waste because of trucks being lost in middle, no trace and tracking of them, but leave apart, they stand near different places where storage facilities are not available, trucks are used as a storage for some time. There is no optimal turnover of the trucks, and hence we create huge amount of emissions as well as loss of it. Why can't we really restructure the network based on the new infrastructure that we have in the country and the new clusters that are there and new hubs and spokes which can service this cluster better? I think sustainability is all about building a new network of distribution and a new network of sourcing from the last trend where we know whatever we are sourcing is sustainable or not. There has to be visibility and track and trace from all sources of supplies, and where, as I said in the earlier part, technology plays a role, but more than technology, mapping plays a role. And there are so many organizations in the world which are providing these mapping facilities to both pharma, auto, or chemicals. We do not use it. We are very comfortable with tier 1. Let's move beyond tier 1 to other suppliers and understand what are the practices of ESG that are happening. Let's move in the transportation sector and see how do we treat our drivers, what is the networks that can be changed, and where are the waste lying, and where is the emissions much higher. What is the solution to this by doing constraint optimization, where what kind of trucks to be used, what do you do to reduce the distance of travel, what do you do to reduce the cost of overall delivery of the products across the line. And I think if we marry these two segments, it's going to be a great imperative, because sustainability becomes a part of your strategy, and if strategy is scalable and profitable, that becomes sustainable in terms of sustainability itself.
Kartik ji, your thoughts?
So along with green, let me also talk about a few other points on creating a cost optimum structure, keeping it for a long time. So typically, how do we structure our transportation contracts? How do we engage in terms of our negotiation with our transportation partners? This creates a very different kind of a cost optimization over a long run. Most of the times, the contracting type, whether you do it for a few months, for a few days, whether you do it for a longer period of time, depending on the asset type, the asset value, there is something in terms of optimization to be dug into there. So I mean, I have myself experienced this, that whenever I have gone in for longer term contracts for transportation, typically the results turn out to be much safer, much faster, and also they turn out to be very much involved. So there is a huge amount of give and take between the partners and the company, and there is a lot of working together, and that's how contracting, I would say, is a very important part to the entire sustainability journey. Mode of transportation, I think Rakesh ji lightly touched upon this, and the transportation modes these days with the kind of availability in terms of, say, options of, say, coastal shipping, options in terms of RoRo, options in terms of, say, waterways, inland waterways. These are things which will kick off at some time. I think we have to be waiting on the sidelines, trying to recalculate things, and make the right moves at the right times. Many of these will also reduce carbon footprints to some extent, and I think it's a journey which we have to take together. I mean, sizes of vehicles, I think we have touched upon certain time. Rakesh ji also had put in very nicely the entire perspective around network optimization. I think those are things which are very important. SOPs, how much time does it take in terms of loading and unloading? What are the kind of things you have? What are the coupling, decoupling? What is the stacking? I mean, do you have something like a telescopic conveyor in play? Can you do an auto filling of the container? I mean, many of these go in a long way in terms of optimizing the transportation costs. And all of these have to be minutely looked into, because everything lies in the detail there. I was, in one of the sessions earlier, there was this operator, I think a service provider, who had raised this question: can you incentivize? Yes, I can tell you, there is, an example is there with an organization I worked in. There was an incentive given, and I will tell you how the incentive was. If a tanker made 3 trips a month, highest incentive; 2 trips a month, less incentive; 1 trip a month, still lesser incentive; 4th trip a month, less incentive. So it's like, up to a certain period of time, or up to a certain number of runs in a month, the incentive increases, and after that it is about safety. So then the incentive steeply drops, or maybe they may be getting less than one trip payment. So that's the kind of structures you can actually put in place in order to create sustainable solutions for the organization.
And additional to that is cost optimization techniques for shipping, ISO tanks, and port handling.
Yeah, so I think a few of these points, if we were to take up, I think talking about, say, bulk, if I talk about bulk, dry bulk cargoes. So handling the entire dry bulk cargo, I have touched upon certain aspects in terms of how the contracting itself happens and how the cost optimization really happens in terms of ocean freights. There is also an element with respect to how the vessel is really handled at the ports, how the discharge happen, how much time does it take in terms of handling the discharge, bagging, putting it into rail wagons or hauling it out through road tankers. Are you really having the rakes, allocations of the rakes? I mean, all of these things go a long way in terms of making costs minimal, optimal in terms of dry cargo. Wastages are also something very important. The parcel size itself is very important. So if you are having dry cargo movement happening, and if you are a large buyer, doesn't make sense to buy small pieces of cargo every bit of time, because most of the cargo handling cost is the same. And you could actually distribute it over a larger volume. So these are points to be looked into when you're looking at dry cargoes. When you're looking at liquid cargoes, there can be a completely different scheme of things. So with the kind of ports, of course, situations are improving every day, but the kind of demurrage and the waiting line at the ports that we see, there is an opportunity. So if there is, for example, somebody who is taking 50% of a ship volume, then you should do your math in terms of looking at, can you actually take the entire shipload instead of taking only a 50% shipload? Personally, from my experience, I have made it happen, and it is possible, because the ship typically visits about 2-3 ports, and instead of the ship visiting 2-3 ports, if you were to tell the supplier and collaborate with the ship owner, including going into the charter agreements, that you can actually take the entire ship, put it onto your port, keep it waiting for the next 10 days, take out all the cargo, let it be there, and again unload and get going with your business. If you do this, there is possibility that there is backup in terms of material, and there is cost optimization also. And these are techniques which have been proven over a period of about a decade odd in a number of companies already. I would say liquids also have certain other possible optimizations. So I think one of the points Dinesh ji had already touched upon in terms of large fleet sizes, so capacity increase. So I remember that sometime we had went in for an increase from 15 to 19 to about 21 ton. I don't know if that is the latest also. 21 ton is the highest. So I think that is another one which we can keep trying. I think there is obviously still possibility that we can go to 30. I think that's the world standard, if I am not wrong. So still there is space. Roads are becoming better in India. Infrastructure is improving. And I think these are a couple of, I would say, tricks in terms of making things happen better and more optimal.
Thank you, sir. In terms of training, what kind of people development training is helpful for supply chain professionals, keeping in view the chemical and the petrochemical sector with respect to cost optimization and operational efficiency? And I would request Rakesh or Singh if you can reply to that.
See, I'll be very short and sweet on this. Training is the least priority of most organizations even today. And while we say that we need to train them for the future, both in terms of the kind of business environment that is emerging globally in terms of uncertainty, volatility, disruptions, and also technology, I think firms do not invest enough money in training. One, we also need to look at that there is a large supply chain workforce that needs to be trained even traditionally in the basic framework of supply chain as it emerges today, as how the new design of supply chain is emerging. Secondly, we need to really train them in terms of working together, collaboration, the benefit of better communication, and how do you use technology and analytics in terms of managing your business as well as communicating interdepartmental, interfunctional, and with the partners, both suppliers as well as with the distributors. What happens exactly is that we are talking about training in a very esoteric framework. Supply chains have remained the same. The contours of supply chain changed with the kind of disruption on one hand and help of technology on the other hand. Technology can help you, but we need to realize that every data has to be used as a product. You know, we all talk about data. What is data? Data is a product which can solve your problem. What are we doing? We are using data, you are analyzing, and you're treating it as some insights, not as a product. Can we really look at each problem, use data, and in a big way? And technology supports these analytics. You could have descriptive, that is, what is the problem? How do you see the problem in the new course? And prescriptive, how do you solve the problem? This is what is analytics all about. Descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. And these kind of analysis and data analysis is a very important part of it. Similarly, working in collaborative framework like SNOP and IBP is a very important aspect of it. And fourthly, moving away from the old MRP system. Why is every, last month in the quarter heavy or last week in the month heavy? We create a design of long lead times so that we are comfortable looking at it. Do away with it. Bring agility, visibility, and transparency into it. These are the areas of concerns and training that should be there. I think people, process, and technology should be married in the new context.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Dinesh.
Yeah, we are talking about the training part. A key stakeholder in supply chain is a driver. In the morning session, Ravi sir has already told that Reliance is already partnered with Ashok Leyland, and they are extensively putting their manpower, their efforts to train the drivers who are participating in Reliance supply chain. Let me come out with the numbers. So till the time we have trained more than 50,000 drivers from our training centers. So when we start implementing all these safety norms, driver getting penalty, and we never put any penalty in the norms of in the terms of money. We used to send the drivers for retraining, because as per our organization principle, we follow 3 R's: retrain, retrain, and release. We want to retain good people. In the morning session, one more beautiful statement has come. Nobody from the good universities, students are not coming in the supply chain, especially or hazardous material handling industries. We, as a supply chain guy, we feel drivers are also not ready to come in our field. How can we reject? We blacklist the driver who was already partly trained. So we develop our own driver training institutes with the Ashok Leyland. It is not a full stop. That is the purpose I take the mic. It is not a full stop. We again take the data, as Mr. Rakesh sir has told, we analyze our data. Who are the people who is not able to understand the safety norms of our company or working culture of, in another way I can say working culture of our company. We take out the list of these drivers. We identified IDTRs. In our system, we have one IDTR in Pune, which is run by Tata, and one IDTR in Baroda, which is run by Maruti. So we went to them, we explained our concern. There are people who are not able to understand the driving risk or transportation risk, and we are the people who handle hazardous goods on the road. So we need a specialized program to train them. So we get simulator-based, AI-based training there. We get actual driving track of around 10-12 kilometers where driver sit with the expert trainer from that organization. We bring doctors, we bring yoga specialists. Many programs they run for their family member, because they want to teach the family member of a driver how to handle the driver once he come back to the family, because driving is one of the most toughest work, especially in the hazardous cargo, where everyone treated the drivers that they are coming from third world. How the normal people handling driver, how these police people handling drivers. So we develop a specialized driver training program for the drivers at the IDTRs. We send them there in that expense of transporters who employ them, and there they stay there 3 days, 4 days. They see the different aspects of driving, then they come back. So this is all. Thank you.
Thank you. The last part of it is the futuristic part, where we are focusing on how are you planning to optimize transportation cost and thereby increase operational efficiencies in the company. So to start with Prakash ji, and then APR, and then Pratyush.
I will give you a classic example of our company. Our company is one of the unit is at Uttarakhand, who needs hydrogen peroxide, let us say 1 ton per month. So now transporting hydrogen peroxide 1 ton per month is really difficult task, because full truckload is really, and every month we need to need 1 ton. So then how to find out the solution, because hydrogen peroxide is a oxidizing agent, and it is not compatible. It is compatible with oxidizing agent only. So part truckload was really not possible for such consignment. So what we have done, we have combined the order for, let us say, 12 months, and then send this material into the full truckload. So this is how we really need to look into the product chemistry first, what type of hazard we are carrying, and then certain hazards can be carried together. Let us say, for that we really need to follow the segregation table. There is a code in IMDG and ITA that there is a table which is given by them as a compatibility chart. Let us say A chemical can be compatible with B. If these chemicals are compatible with each other, then we can take these chemicals in one load, let us say, and send this load to our factory. So this is one way of what we can say reducing the cost, because let us say series of chemicals are compatible with each other, and we need, let us say, 3 tons of that. So we can combine the consignment and send to that, because all these chemicals are manufactured in the western zone and our factories in the north part of the India. So such practices we really need to study and then take effective action on so that we can optimize the cost of the transportation. So this is one initiative which we took for our plant. Another point just I want to explain is regarding let us say warehousing facility, because we manufacture our product at North India, and all our customer is in the western part. So what we have done, we have created a facility at Bhiwandi, and we are bringing all these goods at Bhiwandi, and then all our customers are in the western part. So there is a hub which is placed in the Bhiwandi, and from there we are delivering to the different customers. So again, this is how we can optimize the cost and give the better service to the customer. So these are some practical examples which you may adopt. This is just a suggestion from me.
APRG, yours.
Thank you. So Pravin, I think a lot of interconnected topics, because the theme is the same, right? I would like to share a very recent experience on collaboration, which will probably take less than 10-12 seconds. We work with a lot of partners, right? You can't do everything in the world of supply chain. You have to partner, you have to collaborate. So we work with a lot of partners. And with one such existing partner, there was a beautiful opportunity to collaborate on a multi-million-dollar deal, right? And it was all going very well with the promoters, the directors, and all of a sudden, we got the news that they would like to do it directly without us, right? So this is what collaboration also leads to, and I think Sunil has faced this multiple times. So you've got to respect each and every stakeholder within the supply chain when it comes to collaboration. Only then you can sustain. right? This was one thing that I forgot to mention earlier, so I thought I would take this opportunity. Trying to answer this particular point, Pravin. So there are a couple of initiatives, and since the hall is now almost half asleep and half empty, it's to my advantage because a lot of that secret will not go out, right? And whoever will hear it, I think by the time the grapevine does its work, it will still take a lot of time, so we'll still make money. So one is on the ops efficiency side, we're talking about driver behavior monitoring. So we are in advanced negotiations with 2 partners, one of which is the platinum sponsor here, and another biggie, global biggie, and one of it will obviously get the PO. The objective is to be able to focus on not only the behavior, but that behavior leads to asset wear and tear. Your R&M, your repair and maintenance expenses go up. Your tire, which is a very important and expensive asset, that sort of gives you nightmares because that becomes very expensive for you. Your variable cost of fuel is again, diesel cost is going up, but what if your mileage is not kept in check, right? So that is something that through driver behavior we can monitor faster, better, rather than the traditional way that we all do, and through locks and various other tests, random audits. Accidents, insurance costs, HSSEQ. In fact, I think some gentleman in one of the sessions mentioned about through CCTV camera, you can observe whether or not certain things are followed, whether someone is wearing a helmet, whether there's fire, etc. So that's something that we did a pilot about 6 months back, and it worked well for us from an ops efficiency perspective. So of course, you're not spending man hours, woman hours on those topics, and the system does that job, and you got better things to do then. So that's how you improve ops efficiency. Then EVs for last mile is something that we're introducing now, especially in the secondary distribution space within the radius of about 100, 200 kilometers. We are largely shifting as an organization from a heavy road-based transportation to aligning with government's DFCs and the overall Indian railways, and moving towards rail, full rail, and containers and ISO tanks movements, etc. End-to-end visibility in multimodal is something which is at this point of time difficult, but we are solving that problem with a couple of collaborations with other supply chain partners like technology service providers. We have also partnered with a CO2 emission measurement organization, which is probably the only in India that has got awarded by GLEC, which is the global body, most recognized body. And with them, we intend to, along with our end-to-end visibility platform, showcase how much have you saved in your CO2 emissions, how much have you reduced, as well as allow for, or rather facilitate, trading off the carbon credits that you will gain. And many of you that who might not be aware, RSA Global globally is massively into chemical supply chain, and to the extent that our Dubai facility is state of the art, we intend to replicate that model, not in entirety, but in a staggered manner in India, right from the smallest activity of filling, cleaning, etc. And RSA Talke is our joint venture in that space, and Talke being one of the logistics chemical giants in the world. So I believe these initiatives will help us do better, and then there are more, but then I guess that's the secret sauce which I would not like to share. I think over to Pratyush.
So thanks. Most of the topics I think we are already discussed, but just on a macro level, what I can say is that government of India is helping us to reduce our logistics cost of from 14% of GDP to 8 to 10% of GDP over a period of time with better infrastructure. As my colleague touched on the carbon CO2 emissions part, so as a Evonik, we have published our sustainability report in 2020, where we say that we will reduce scope 1, scope 2 by 25% by 2030, and scope 3 by 11% by 2030. So while saying that, 43% of our sale comes with a positive sustainability figure, and we want to increase it to 50% by 2030 by investing 3 billion euros. While saying that, this offers a cost-saving opportunity to industry where we supply rice husk-based silica, which goes into a tire, and that saves 30% carbon footprint with our technology with better performance. So just to sum up that as a cost-saving opportunity in the transportation field, we should look for such opportunities which has a better technology. Even now, more greener fuels are coming. The fuels, even for diesel, we are getting greener fuels, and I personally use that to see the miracle of my vehicle average getting increased as compared to the money which I placed. So with that personal example, I want to conclude my comment. Thanks.